Alright, this time we're taking a look at the Plamax SOPHIA F SHIRRING Tiger Bikini version. I built the original one a long while ago, but I never ended up publishing the video for it just because I didn't have the unboxing part of it, so I kind of just forgot about it and skipped it. So I finally got my hands on the second one thanks to my friend, and I've been eyeing this thing up for a long time since it was first revealed and released. So I guess we're gonna take a look at this one. You can see it has a lot of skin parts, which, well, she definitely showed a lot of skin, so that's pretty cool. And there's like these different parts right here. The blue clear parts are for like ribbons and other things. There's an underboob piece, and I think those hinges were for like the wrist pegs. The arms and legs are interesting because they're on their own separate like pieces. And then here's like the boobs. Here's the waist joint or the waist area, which is kind of its own piece. You can see the coloring is pretty cool. Like, these are all pre-painted. The neck piece and then the stomach, which I guess has its own separate thing, which is kind of interesting. And then there's at least one blank face with nothing on it. And then you get a winky face, you get a shocked like face, and then you get a smiley one, which I think is pretty nice. But I think there could have been like an angry face or something. An open palm hand, clenchy hand, gripping hand, and then fist hand. So she's not too many hands. I'm kind of surprised by that. And then a bunch of extra stuff. So these are for the bikini. So you kind of put these like on her chest and everything. These are the shoulder joints, which look pretty nice. I'm surprised that they're all separated. And then these are the black pieces for like the black accents on her clothing. This is the clear stand, which is actually a really good stand. I'm using it for other stuff, but I recommend building that stand and actually using it. It's actually very good. And then the gold parts, which are in this really ugly gold color. The silver parts look okay, not that bad. And then here's a bunch of wrist pegs and hand pieces and leg joints, like knee joints and stuff. And then here's more white accents and parts. Here's the hair. The hair is actually pretty well made, but there's that part that's not painted. And then here's extra orange parts for I think her giant cat hands or whatever they are. And then more hair pieces. And then, I don't remember what that is. Oh, and then these clear parts that are on different parts of the outfit, like, I think those look pretty cool. And then the giant cat arm things, and the feet, and then more black accents. I do like the color scheme on this thing. It's just orange, black, white, and then obviously like her skin, and then like her blonde hair, and a little bit of blue. And then get this big ass decal, but the way the eyes are set up, it almost makes it look like she's cross-eyed because they're so close to each other. And then here's the manual. It's really nice, like shiny laminated paper, which I think is pretty cool, and it opens up like a normal book, so it doesn't spread open all the way. Oh wait, no, I think this one does spread open, I don't remember. Anyway, building the hair and everything is really easy. And then the chest, that's actually pretty well done. I wish more kits were kind of like this, where the chest was kind of like a pre-made part, and then you just kind of connect all the stuff together. And then the legs, they really valued, I think, the aesthetics over like the complexity of the build, because it's actually kind of easy to put her together. It's just that actually putting all the body parts together was a fucking nightmare, just like it was in the original. And then here's like all the extra armor parts, which I think are pretty cool. You can really see like the complexity of it, which goes to show that like Good Smile, when they try really hard, they really know how to do stuff. And then that's pretty much it. She doesn't come with a whole lot of stuff, so I was actually kind of surprised that there wasn't too many steps, but they do show you the character design in the manual, which I think is nice. So you can actually, I don't know, use that for drawing or, you know, to get some inspiration. And then there's the part set. And then there's the decal guide, which shows you how to put all that stuff on, even though it's not really meant to be there. But yeah, I think this thing's pretty cool, and let's check out the build. Alright, well, Sophia is finished, and I think it looks amazing. It looks almost exactly like the way it did in the box. The only thing is that the orange is kind of plain looking. It doesn't have like that metallic look to it, like in the artwork in the promos, but besides that, and besides the hair not having those little side parts painted black and gold, but it still looks extremely good out of the box, like without having to put any paint. It's just that I wish the orange looked a bit better, but man, I can't get enough of like how clean the design is. Like the white, the black, and the orange all work really well. I like the translucent cattail and the semi-translucent like chest piece right there covering where her nipples would be or whatever. I think it's pretty cool, and it's really like well done and intricate. I'm just kind of surprised that they were able to squeeze in this level of detail without having to sacrifice too much in the articulation. Like, I still can't believe it. Like, just like the first one, I thought this one was a home run in terms of its aesthetics. Alright, but what about the articulation? The hair actually has a little hinge that you can pull back, so you can actually give the head more range, which I think is pretty nice. You can actually have it pull back or pull back in, so you can actually look up really well thanks to the neck joint, and look down like super well. She can look literally into her boobs, which I think is pretty funny. I'm not sure when you're going to need that much range, but you get all this 360 motion thanks to the ball joint on the neck and on the top of the head, and where the head is, which is great. But it can kind of knock off that little gemstone piece, which, don't worry. The arms go above 90 degrees sideways, which is not great. Again, aesthetics is kind of the focus on this thing. The arms do go all the way up when you rotate them forward, so that's good. You can kind of pull them back, but not too much. There's a bicep swivel. You can't really cross its arms that well because it pops off, which compared to the Figma versions, I don't know, the Figmas are still probably better in terms of articulation, but aesthetically I think they did a great job here. It's close to crossing, but not quite. And you get a bicep swivel, you have a nice arm bend over 90 degrees. The wrist joints are a little limited because of the giant like wrist like buckle thing that she has, like those giant gauntlet things. But yeah, you can still get some use out of them. It's just they're really tightly packed in there. The torso can lean back a little bit, which is not the best, but it does lean forward really well, but there's a big gap behind her. And then if you combine it with the lower joint, you get a pretty good forward crunch, which I think is nice, but again, you get some really ugly gappage. But like, I don't know, I still think that's pretty good. Like, look at this, like really good forward lean. The footage might be kind of blurry though, but don't worry, you can still see it. But let's see, you get a really good joint. There's like a ball peg, I think, connects to a straight peg on the back of her like upper torso joint, so you can kind of twist it and get side to side range and forward crunch. But it's a real shame that they couldn't give you like more sideways range, because that torso part kind of just works like a hinge. The legs still can't kick full 90 degrees because of the lack of a real drop down, and the fact that the connection is so tight, like you can't really like manipulate that leg joint so that it can do what it wants. If you lean the torso forward, you can kind of cheat and get 90 degrees, but that's not the same. It's really not the same. And going sideways though is actually really good, not perfect 90 degrees, and it does pinch in a little bit, but it still works really well. And then you can kick back a little bit, but it tries to fight with you, so that's not the best range. And then you get an amazing knee bend. Like, look at this. This is the kind of knee bend I'm always talking about. Like, we need something like this. And then there's a thigh swivel, which is great. It kind of tries to fight you a little bit, but it does work really well. And then the ankles go back and forth. It goes forward, I think, better than it goes back. And then the ankle rocker is pretty good, but there's no toe hinge due to the way they constructed it. It's like two separate pieces or whatever. This tail is on a peg, I think, on a ball peg, and you can kind of swivel it around, but it likes to pop off and disconnect itself because these tiny little clear pegs that the tail pieces are connected to have a very loose connection. So if you try moving it around, it just kind of splits apart, which I really hate. See, like, what the fuck, what am I supposed to do with that? And for accessories, you get her smiley neutral face, which I think looks pretty good. Then you get like a winky, like sexy face, which I actually really like this one. This one's cool, it's playful. And then you get like a shocked, like mouth open face where, you know, she's wearing this crazy outfit. It's like, whoa. And then you get some fist hands, like I mentioned earlier. You get some gripping hands, which I think are compatible with the previous Sophia's accessories. And then you get like open palm clenchy hands. And then you also get some like style pose jazz hands, which I do like. These are pretty fun. And then you get like a dagger, which can be combined together in like the small little silver piece, and you can put them in her hands. You get the giant cat arms, the tiger paws, and then you also get some like cat or tiger feet to go along with it, and these are interchangeable. So to swap these out, you pull the hair, which is really fucking stuck in there for some reason. Like, I don't remember it being that stuck. I was literally struggling to pull this out. And then for the head, the face, you pull from the top and the bottom, and you just kind of like wiggle it out while gripping the hair from the back. And oh my god, I didn't realize it was that far to pull out. Because it has like those two pegs. And then you just kind of pull that back in, and the ribbon popped out, and you gotta put it back in. Yeah, and then you pull the hair, and let's see, and then the arms, and the hands, you just kind of pull them out like normal. That's pretty easy. The daggers have to kind of fit in the hand. Luckily they just kind of slip in. You don't have to do that thing like with some Kotobukiya kits where you have to like pry open the grip on the hands, which I've always hated. It's better if they just slide in. So there you go, she can hold the daggers. The arms are easy to swap out. You just kind of pull it from the forearms. I always say forearms. You pull it out from the biceps, and then you pull out from the calves, which knocks the camera back a few inches, but now she's an amputee, which I think is funny. Anyway, and then you connect it from the bottom part, like the lower part of the knee, and then you just kind of jam it in there. It's a pretty strong connection, which is great because sometimes these extra pieces that are interchangeable don't have the best connection or loose, or you know, they're just not as good as like the default stuff that you're supposed to put on it. But man, I'm really happy. Yeah, see, here I struggled a little bit, but it's not that bad. You just need to like do it at the right angle, but I think I didn't during this footage. And then there you go, you just connect it via the bicep and the shoulder, and then there you go. It's a little wobbly and is weighed down a little bit, but you can still kind of bring her arms forward the same way. It does cross slightly because of the big arms, but it's not really the same thing as like an actual cross arm. You can kind of bring them up all the way, which is good. It's not really getting weighed down, so you can still pose her in like more cat-like mannerisms or whatever if you want to. They have a bicep swivel built in. There's a double jointed elbow, which gets pretty good range. It's a little over 90 degrees, but it's still pretty nice. I do like how it looks, pretty detailed. And yeah, bicep swivel. And then there's a big fucking wrist hinge right there. You see that hinge? Look at that wrist peg, gigantic. It doesn't have the best range because like the flat like wrist part, but it is pretty cool, and you can manipulate and twist around the giant cat paw, so you can kind of do whatever you want with it. Oh, I forgot to mention this. The fingers actually can move, which I think is pretty cool. They're on little ball hinges, they're on little ball pegs and connected to a socket, so you can kind of move them around, which I think is pretty neat. Like, I don't know, they've really thought of everything when they were making this. And then for the legs, they still pretty much have the same amount of range, but the knee bend is slightly worse just because of those extra pieces on the back of her leg, which increases the thickness of her, you know, leg overall. So, not that bad, but I still think it's better to have the regular feet on, but these feet are so big, you can actually balance her on one foot, which I think is pretty cool. And then, no toe hinge here, and then kind of limited range on the ankles, but yeah, it could be worse. I'm okay with it because she has really fucking huge feet now. And then for size, like with all the stuff on, she's about the size of a Transformer, bigger than your average SH Figure Arts, slightly taller than the Gauholic Nanoho, and bigger than a Megami device, and obviously taller than the Figma, but the Figma is like its own different scale. So what do I think overall? I think the Sophia is actually really freaking cool, and I think it's a good follow-up to the original, and I kind of like this one more because it has less QC issues and more simple stuff that it comes with. Like it comes with like just big cat paws. It doesn't come with a giant oversized sword. It doesn't come with like these parts that you put on her back and have all this extra like weight and everything that weighs it down, makes it hard to stand up. this complements, I think, the character design a bit more and makes it more fun to pose, and it works as like a cat bikini girl sort of thing, so I think that's pretty nice. And I guess I've been building getting a lot of cat related stuff lately, like with the snail shell and the kimono plus, so yeah, I guess I'm all about cats right now, but yeah, that's pretty much it, see ya.